So this could just be because I do videos and content creation, but Steam has just casually dropped one of the most useful functions to me I could have ever asked for. Something that completely invalidates NVIDIA's shadowplay. Steam has added a feature that allows you to record your gameplay. Now, as somebody who's obviously using OBS, you'd probably be asking, why do I need something like this? And to be honest, there are a lot of reasons. Primarily because I do play games outside of recording and streaming, and there have been tons and tons and tons of moments that unfortunately are lost to time because while I was playing games on my own, something really cool happened, but I was completely unable to record it. So it happened, a moment passed, and that was that. I have no records of it, no proof, just the memory that, that thing happened. Now, I also have an NVIDIA graphics card, which means that I could have been using shadowplay. The issue with shadowplay is that it takes a pretty hefty chunk of performance, as well as it doesn't play well with OBS. So I have to manually and consciously remember to turn it off whenever OBS is open, or I risk messing up OBS and shadowplays both. And that has happened before, and it was awful. Essentially, I was in the middle of recording using OBS and forgot that shadowplay was on, and shadowplay corrupted the video recording that OBS was making, and of course didn't capture anything that I needed it to itself. So that was a very, very frustrating experience that I'm not looking forward to repeating. And thanks to Steam, I don't have to do that. This feature has everything, as far as options concerns, everything that I could think of. In addition to having just, having it off, which is by default, you can set it to record in the background or manually toggle it with a command. Control F11 is the default, which you can change. Timeline marker, take a screenshot. There's a button that will automatically save the last 30 seconds, same with shadowplay. You can even make controller shortcuts to start and stop recording, which is super interesting. I think that Sony... The share button on the PlayStation, it was a neat idea, but its execution needed a lot of work. It was kind of cumbersome to use. This was super easy to set up, and I've already used it. So you can get game-specific settings. I have mine set to all games, but you can choose from all of the games on your library to only work with certain ones if you're not trying to have it use that much disk space. And speaking of disk space, it tells you about how much you will use. This is based off of the resolution of the game, which is native to your monitor. So if you play games at 4K, Steam is going to try and record them at 4K. And it'll give you the range. I play all of my games at 1080p, so I'm more likely going to be on the 10.8 gigabyte side of things, whereas if I were doing 4K gaming, it would be 34.2 gigabytes. That quality can be adjusted with this menu, super handy, and you can also shorten the time. Default is to record 120 minutes of video, which for me is more than enough, but I don't feel like shortening it because there's always the chance that something could get cut off, and like I just got done explaining, that's not a very good feeling. If you're familiar with recording settings at all, this is super advanced stuff, but you have your GPU hardware encoding, your HVAC. This is what I use H264, I want to say. Don't quote me on that. When I render my videos in Sony Vegas or DaVinci, I'm pretty sure I'm using 264, but 265 works. It's not a big deal. You can set your frame rate. They only have 60 and 30 frames. Doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to record at anything higher than 60 frames. There might be some sort of benefit to having a custom number, but I can't think of what that would be. Let's see. Setting the video height. That's odd. Video height specifically. The width will be automatically set up to preserve the game's aspect ratio. This is how you would choose the... Is this how you would choose the resolution? The wording on that part is a little bit confusing. And you can also choose to record your microphone, and you can choose if you will be getting all of the system audio or only game audio, or you can choose the game and certain select programs. Incredibly, incredibly useful. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm not guilty of this. There have been tons of times where a USB has disconnected in the middle of a recording, and I was talking, so I can't just edit it out. Or maybe, you know how you alt-tab sometimes, and if you're on a store page, Steam's like video will be playing. It'll capture the audio from that. Just noise that you don't want in your recording. And with these settings, you can make sure that no, game audio only, or game audio in other programs that you want. Very, very, very useful stuff. I have mine set to game audio only. This for me is very, very useful, and in the Steam overlay, you will even
Have you ever had a dream that
you are even able to clip from the larger video. So if I play a game for an hour, but I only want 4 or 5 minutes from it, there's a very useful, easy to use tool that will allow me to just select that part, save it, and I can toss the rest or do whatever I want with it. This is great because I have hundreds of hours of recordings from different games over several years, and trying to clip that is pretty overwhelming, specifically if I want to do something like YouTube Shorts. Something like this will make it very, very easy for me to get those moments and isolate them from the larger recording. So even if I plan to do something else with the bigger recording at the end, I can still get those smaller bite-sized chunks. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that I intend to use this to flood my channel with shorts, but it does make the option more readily available and less of an overwhelming task to think about. Another key feature that this plays a role into is there are a bunch of games that I'm not really sure how I should make videos of. For example, I've been playing this game called Half Sword. It's a demo, it's a closed beta playtest that I've been a part of for a while. It's a really, really fun game, and it's something that I enjoy a lot, but there's really not a lot to it. There's no story or anything. It's just sword fighting. Sword fighting that reminds me of Bushido Blade on PlayStation 1, except a little bit more physics heavy. I want to do a video of that game, but I can't really do it in the ways that I normally do games. I don't really want to dismember myself or show any gratuitous gore or violence with like blood and stuff, even though that is featured in the game. So while I do like games that are action, and I'm not usually a fan of gore, this game kind of sort of has that, and I don't want to necessarily attach myself to that sort of thing. The same way that I would attach myself to a first-person shooter or a dungeon where I'm like walking around and aiming my gun and stuff like that. I don't really want to do that with Half Sword, but I still want to talk about the game. Well, using Steam, I was able to record a hefty chunk of Half Sword gameplay, and when I get around to thinking of how I want to frame that video, I'll be able to do it. This video actually serves as the perfect reason, and I didn't need to use OBS to set any of that stuff up. So my OBS is ready to record the game that I'm actually planning to do my usual content for, and Steam was able to catch this and whatever else might come up in the future. Having this is awesome. No impact on my performance whatsoever, and it's just there, a part of Steam, which everyone's already using. Hats off to you, Valve. I can't believe you got away with spitting in the face of NVIDIA like that. Now I have to go figure out how to turn off shadowplay so I can get that performance back. Anyway, if you don't do content creation like I do, does this feature mean something to you? Possibly, because there are people who like to share clips and funny moments with their friends, or they want to brag about being able to do a no-hit run on a boss in Elden Ring, or the Elden Ring clones known as Dark Souls. Maybe you could get some use out of something like this, and you don't have to fiddle around with Streamlabs OBS or OBS Studio, which takes setup time, and you have to manually do, it's just right there. Right there for free. No reason to not at least fiddle around with it if it's something that interests you. And if it's something that doesn't interest you, hey, that's great. It's off by default. It's not secretly recording you or anything that you say. It's a neat function that's there if you want it and out of the way if you don't. So, let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in another video.